Moving on, we have another keynote presentation by Mr. Nishidh Bhansali, Director Global Customer Success EMEA from Riverbed. And in his speech, he will talk about next-gen NOC for hybrid enterprise, harden your visibility and performance posture. Now I request all our dear participants to please feel free to ask any questions that you may have for Riverbed in the chat box, and it will be answered by Riverbed directly as soon as possible. Mr. Bhansali, the stage is all yours.
Thank you, Bridget. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you. I can see you. I can see the presentation also.
Excellent, excellent. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for inviting us to this prestigious event. My name is Nishidh Bhansali, and as Director of Customer Success at Riverbed, my fundamental role is to ensure that we equip our customers, with the right building blocks, if you will, right, to take them through this complex transformation initiatives. Today, I'll be sharing some of my experiences in the field and how we've really helped some of our customers. Technology is truly the driving force, right, behind any digital transformation, but it presents both its opportunities as well as challenges. Our customers are rapidly adopting cloud services, for added capability, for capacity, for agility. They're making huge investments in emerging technologies like AI, IoT, big data, to really spur digital innovation. And they're continuing to develop mobile capabilities to enhance digital offerings and really enable an increasingly mobile and remote workforce, especially in this COVID era. But as a result of that, our customers are really struggling to meet performance expectations, and they're experiencing the same pain points that I'm kind of listing out here. There are 4 different categories. Number one is application performance. It's unreliable, often caused by latency for chatty protocols, bandwidth constraints. Number 2 is visibility. 67% of organizations say that they're flying blind, with little to no visibility into their network and application performance, be it on-prem, virtual, or cloud. Third is security, right? Expanded security risks. As more and more users, locations, and devices get connected to the network in this diverse environment, security becomes an even bigger risk to the organization. And lastly, to be agile, right? They really lack agility from an IT perspective because of the complexity of the network, because of impacting their ability to be responsive to the ever-changing requirements of the business, keeping up with the business, keeping up with the customer demands and with the employee needs. So let's take a look at the 3 pillars, and then we'll talk about the agility piece last. Employees should really be able to work from anywhere, be it a home office like myself, be it a coffee shop, or at a local branch office, right? How do you ensure that each of them have the same experience when accessing their business applications? How do we accelerate the applications in a way to compensate for the latency introduced with distance, right? How do we accelerate workload migrations to the cloud so that they don't choke up your network and impact your day-to-day operations? Once data is actually being managed by your cloud provider, and let's say you want to retrieve it for BI, for analytics, for simple reporting, right? Customers have to bear huge data egress costs. These are some of the many challenges that we are seeing our customers face today. And through Riverbed's application acceleration solutions, we've really been able to help them maintain performance while reducing their costs for the organization. At times we've seen that there is a reduction and an improvement of 33 times in some SaaS apps like Office 365. If you look at visibility, cloud migration is imminent, right? For most organizations, be it a complete cloud migration or be it a hybrid environment. However, this is leading to a huge visibility gap and loss of control from a performance perspective. Many customers are facing a dilemma where end users are complaining of degradation when accessing their applications, which are now hosted in the cloud, even to an extent that we've seen cases where some key business apps are actually moved back on-prem, because of their impact they had to the business and productivity of the workforce. It really doesn't have to be that way. If you can't see it, you can't measure it. And if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. You need to be able to capture the current end user experience in on-prem conditions. You want to benchmark the overall performance of the application, right? And that really becomes your ground zero. At this point, you have an objective measure, the objective indicator to define what is normal for the workforce in terms of performance. It becomes your baseline, really, right? Through the migration and after the migration to the cloud. Now, this may sound like a very simple methodology, but it requires immense collaboration, between different business units, domain owners, setting up a dedicated task force. We're really focusing on performance, not just looking at availability. Who know what to look for, who know how to troubleshoot methodically, right? And pinpoint if a performance bottleneck lies within their controlled IT environment at this point, or is it within the cloud? The last pillar was security, right? No evidence of compromise is not the same as evidence of no compromise. Now, we've seen a rise in advanced persistent threats, where the adversaries have both the time and resources to really infiltrate the organization and do the most amount of damage. Riverbed has been able to help these kind of organizations with security through visibility, to really protect against these advanced attacks. Threat hunting, incident response, forensics, these are some of the key areas in cybersecurity defense that we really help play a role in. Unlike waiting for, let's say, your IDS or your SIEM solutions, where you're waiting for this alerts to really surface and then kind of react to them, in cyber threat hunting, the security analysts are proactively combing through the network. They're combing through the endpoints and all of the data to really search for, to track, and to disable the most skilled and dangerous attackers. Now, the beauty about this is some of the telemetry that they do rely on for their security analysis overlaps with what the NOC teams should already be having in order to monitor performance. Namely full fidelity flows and packet level data. These are the fingerprints, right, of any attacker. So by converging your tooling, you're really fostering collaboration, and you're having eyes and ears out there to catch these highly skilled adversaries right in the act. So we've seen all the challenges, but how do you respond to this, right? As an IT organization, as an operations team, how do you prepare for this? I want to show you Gartner's operations monitoring maturity model, right? It's got 5 stages, and it's put out very beautifully in terms of what telemetry you need and how do you get to the next levels. Stage 1 is really where the operations team is purely looking at availability, whether a device is up or down, kind of reacting to alert. Right? This is the old school way of doing things from an operations perspective. When you go to stage 2, this is where you kind of start looking for performance degradation. You understand a service impact. Stage 3 is where you've understood that there is an impact in performance and you want to diagnose, in which case you need the packet level information and the flow level information. Stage 4 and 5 is where it gets really interesting, because now you've captured all the data, all the telemetry that you really need to solve your IT performance issue, but are you able to relate your business impact to specific IT KPIs? Can you say for sure whether it is or is not an IT issue when your business is impacted? And the answer is very clear from this chart, again, from the Gartner report that 50% of customers are at stage 2 or below. Only 7% of our customers have actually been able to bridge this gap alignment between business and IT KPIs. So why is that? Telemetry alone will allow you to improve your performance monitoring maturity. But to elevate you to the stage 4 and the 5s, you really need to master the art of leveraging the data in a meaningful way with defined workflows, with processes, KPIs, and governance, which is achieved really through a performance management strategy as a whole. So now let's look at how all of this comes into practice, right? In terms of next gen NOC, what we call the Digital Performance Center, the DPC. By now it's evident that investing in the right telemetry is just the beginning. But if you stop there, that's the pitfall. As it leads to a false sense of control. What you've really done is added another piece of technology to your team's repertoire, and they have to upskill, they have to manage and derive actionable intelligence from that new piece of technology. It's like buying a race car, right? And putting it on the F1 track, expecting to win. Yes, a fast car is important, but equally important is an experienced driver for that car, the mechanic and the pit stop crew who knew everything about that car and about racing, right? Who can tune it for optimal performance, giving you the best chance to win. So yes, technology is important, but knowing how to leverage that technology for your desired outcome is the key to winning. And this is where sort of the next gen NOC, or the Digital Performance Center, really fits in. It starts with recognizing that the existing teams would continue to operate much in the way that they're doing today, right? But what we're going to do differently is to create this horizontal layer of support, of capability around the telemetry, skills, processes, workflows, KPIs, and governance that are directed by a team of specialized performance experts. And these are the guys, or this is the team that will provide you with this horizontal support to all of your different functions to help them upskill their talent, to build and to refine your processes, specifically around performance. Finally, one of the most critical elements of this NOC is executive sponsorship. Without an executive sponsor, without this mindset of this change, there's very little chance of you achieving organizational momentum that can really affect positive change. This brings me to our Riverbed pioneered performance management maturity levels. The first and the only in the industry based on performance, right? This forms the basis of our next gen NOC framework. It's a well-defined methodology that enables us to measure the levels of performance maturity that a customer has and help define a path to higher levels of maturity. With level 0, meaning basically the customer at this point doesn't have an ability to monitor performance of their application network, right? It's total chaos at this point, right? To a level 1, where the customer may have some pockets of visibility and might have some people who know how to use the tools, but for the most part, there's no element of being proactive. There's no consistency of data. There's no consistency in the analysis of that data. It's mostly a hit or a miss, right? Depending on who's available at that time to help solve the problem. From there, you go all the way to a level 5, where the needed telemetry is in place, performance management is a fully integrated discipline, metrics are being analyzed over time, and trends are looked at for predictive analysis. The goal here is to benchmark a customer and move them from being reactive to proactive and eventually a preventative state. Now, this is a visual that really fills us with pride, right? Maersk has embarked on a digital transformation journey over a decade ago and realized the importance of building out a state-of-the-art command and control center, with all of the elements that I touched upon previously. They partnered with Riverbed to gain visibility and control of their 3,000 plus applications as of today. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither was this command center. It took us precision planning, execution over several years to get to this level of maturity. But this isn't just about building fancy dashboards on HD screens, right? Behind these visuals, you've got a platform which is fully adopted and embedded at Maersk. Everybody knows what they need to do who is working within the command center. They've been trained and equipped with the right skills to leverage the technology. They've been skilled on using the processes that have been created and defined. And all of this could not have been possible if there wasn't executive sponsorship. In short, Maersk is a fine example of an organization who's at the highest level of performance maturity. And if you're interested in hearing more about Maersk's story, just YouTube Riverbed Maersk, and you'll be able to listen to that. I'd like to wrap up this session by these impressive statistics, right? Whether you've just embraced the cloud strategy or in the midst of managing a hybrid cloud environment, let's not compromise on visibility and control. With decades of experience in digital transformation and a strong local presence in Saudi Arabia, Riverbed has been a trusted advisor for hundreds of customers in the banking, the education, government sectors, to name a few. We're ready to partner in building out the next-gen NOC, bringing together the telemetry, tooling, people, processes to really help you succeed. Thank you very much. Bridget, back over to you.
Am I audible to you, Nishidh? Hello?
It's fine.
Yeah, am I audible to you, Nishidh?
Yes.
I'm so sorry about that, and thank you very much for the insightful keynote presentation.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Dear participant, I would like to inform you all that Riverbed is one of our key sponsors, and I highly appreciate if you can go and network and visit their booths to explore any of the services that they have for you in store.